Hello, everybody. Today is Saturday, March 3rd, and we bring you episode 85, the last of the season, at block height 511,839. So, welcome, Mr. Rick.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Doing pretty well this weekend.
JW, how are you doing today?
Doing really good. Looking forward to the stories.
And Janine, how was the conference yesterday?
Guten Tag. And yes, the conference, well, the result of it was a video that we just published before the show. Lots of interesting people there. Little disappointed by the fact that half of it was basically pitches for apps on Blockstack, and I think only one of them was actually interesting to me. Only one of them made sense, as far as I could tell. But yeah, it was worth it to go there for Nick Szabo and Elizabeth Stark and Edward Snowden, so that was good.
Definitely interesting.
Everybody should check that clip out. It's just a couple minutes long. And how are you doing, Agnes?
Hello, everybody. Doing great.
All right. So this is a monumentous occasion for our season finale this season. As JW said, it seems like we're covering a Coinbase fuck up almost every time we go on air. Well, this is no exception. And boy, is this one a doozy. Count it, two class action lawsuits in 2 days. I know everybody's seen the Bitcoin Cash one, but if you guys haven't seen this one yet, they're also being sued for a completely different thing, dealing with California's unclaimed property laws. And for anybody unlucky enough to use Coinbase like myself, you'll know that they allow you to make internal Coinbase transactions to email addresses, including to people who don't have a Coinbase account. Well, that is biting them in the ass hardcore. A Timothy Fossey and Jeffrey Hansen pretty much both had Bitcoin sent to them using this feature when neither of them had a Coinbase account back in, I believe, February or March of 2013. October 20th, 2013. And were notified by email that they had Bitcoin sent to them and can claim it by registering with Coinbase. And then that's it. They didn't do that. Coinbase did not reach out and contact them until last month, almost 5 years later. And, well, lo and behold, California has very strict laws regarding unclaimed property and how businesses are supposed to handle this. And pretty much there is a time limit of about 2 to 2.5 years on contacting anybody whose property you're holding on their behalf. And yeah, as I just mentioned, it took them 5 years after the initial notification to contact them again. The California government also requires regular filings with the Californian government in the event that you're holding somebody's unclaimed property regarding their personal information and amounts held, so that the government can reach out and try to contact these people to get them back their property. And after a certain time period, they're actually supposed to turn over the assets to the government so that they can take over trying to return it, so that the company is not unjustly enriched. And Coinbase has done none of this. And I don't know about you guys, but I have a feeling that quite a lot of people have been sent Bitcoin in this way that they wound up not claiming.
Oh, yeah. And I believe many people brought up this issue on Twitter, various other social media platforms, that, hey, like, this may be a problem for you in the future. And it seems like they've just ignored it until now.
Yeah, because considering it was 2013, you either got the amount you got sent. I see that they've redacted that. But the amount that they got sent, they either got super wrecked or they're like super lucky right now. Like they either bought it before it really went up or they bought it when it crashed, or it got sent to them when it crashed and it was like low amount. But I'd love to know.
I didn't totally follow this. So how's Coinbase ending up with people's
they allow you to send Bitcoins through Coinbase utilizing email addresses. And in the event that it is an email address that is not a registered Coinbase customer, they'll just hold the Bitcoin and email you and go like, hey, sign up to get your Bitcoin.
You know what? I feel like I tried to onboard a few people, like, I don't know, a few months back, and I sent them, like, just introduce somebody to Bitcoin, right? Like, all right, man, I'll give you $3 in Bitcoin. Here you go. And it came back to me after a certain amount of time because they never claimed it, or they couldn't figure out how to do it, or they just thought it was a scam or something. I don't know. It was some dude I didn't know very well.
Yeah, I would suspect that Coinbase
turned back.
I would suspect that Coinbase probably updated their policy so that if the person you sent it to doesn't claim it, it gets sent back to you, because this seems like a really big mess if they're not notifying people. So they probably changed the system so that just automatically goes back to you.
But back then they hadn't, and then they didn't actually take the time to go back and look at the old stuff that they had laying around and hand it back to the people that sent it. That makes sense. If that's what's happening, it sounds like that's a good possibility.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like, you know, like you're saying, this was either like right around the peak or, you know, on the crash down, or, you know, depending on when they got it and everything. But it's like at this point in time, it's still a good price. And, you know, it's one of these things where I guess it's just like more and more people are trying to make sure everybody's doing things the right way, that this sort of problem needs to be exposed, just to make sure that other people aren't trying to do this similar type deal.
But I mean, it's just like this. I mean, really, like, think about it. Like, how many people were probably sent Bitcoin in this way years ago, just with exactly like you just said, JW, like trying to onboard friends, or like, you know, here, like, try it out to some random person. And I mean, like, like, in just the fact that they have like completely ignored like Californian law, as a company who's headquartered and operating out of California, like for like 5 years or more, they have done literally absolutely nothing to comply with this legislation. And like their whole shtick is, we're the ones following all the rules and we got all the licenses, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, the thing, I mean, the law is one thing, but this just seems really stupid, right? Like it reminds me of that bug that I ran into the other day, where had I screwed up, I could have just nuked, you know, 10 Bitcoin. It's just, this would just be like, if you just threw a developer this problem, like any random competent developer, you don't even have like a PM involved that's just thinking about the user experience. You just say, hey, we're going to have you have we want an experience where somebody can send Bitcoin to somebody via email. Any competent developer is going to go, okay, well, what are we going to do in the case where they don't claim it, right? Like, that's just, it's such an obvious part of that flow. And the obvious answer is, well, you just send it back, right? Like it should be, again, I don't think Coinbase quite gets this, but most of the things that are involved in financial transactions should be atomic, right? Like they should either work or fail. And when they fail, they should go all the way back to the original state. So this seems like a really stupid design bug that, regardless of the law, like just really, really dumb work. You know what I mean?
Well, but like as a business though, the law is the important part. And, you know, it's kind of funny when you think about like the fact that they've obviously changed it regarding your experience using this feature. I mean, like, again, I'm no lawyer. I'm just playing armchair lawyer here. But from what this like actual code is painted as in this filing, I have a feeling that there is a big possibility that even their change is now violating laws. Because the minute you went click and sent that to that guy's email address, that's his property now. Like, you sent that to him, and Coinbase is now the custodian of his property that is unclaimed. And so now, like, if just because he didn't claim it in a month, they just give that back to you, like, are they breaking these laws in a different way now?
I don't know. I kind of doubt it. I mean, normally, if you're doing something that somebody wouldn't look at and say, well, that's kind of a dick move, right? Normally, you're all right. And I'm just saying, if Coinbase ever had the system set up to where you try to send somebody Bitcoin, and if they don't claim it, Coinbase keeps it, that's just a dick move, right? So legal or not, I mean, I like, you don't even have to have a special law for that. I think you'd probably get hit with just generic sort of fraud, right? There's probably 3,000 laws on the books of every state that say that you can't do that.
I just realized something. So you know how we've talked about the BAT token a lot. You know how their user growth pool has this thing where if you you know what I'm going with this, don't you?
Yep.
So for anyone who's not aware, if they haven't watched previous shows, the way the BAT token works is that basically your browser, when you're browsing the web, similar to the Pro Tip app that Chris made a few years ago, if you're browsing the web, their app called Brave Payments, it collects a list of websites that display or have Bitcoin addresses in them. Actually, with Brave, you have to, like, usually it's displaying, but you can also have microcode, which I guess is what they ended up using. But so basically, it browses the web, collects Bitcoin addresses, it organizes them in the Brave Payments app, and then when you go to pay them, it will send tokens to websites and people that they're not verified with Brave. And if you're not verified with Brave, you don't actually get tokens. Until you're verified, you cannot receive them. You have to sign up. They hold it in custody for you for a month. And if you don't claim them, then so basically any funds you as a Brave user send out goes into this custodial wallet that they wait to make, like, the bulk payment to all of the publishers and partners. And so if you're not verified with them as a partner, then you don't get the tokens. You have to sign up. If you don't sign up, the tokens get sent into this user growth pool. The user who sent the tokens, to their favorite creator is never informed of that. So I'm going to maybe point this out to Brendan and ask him if this is a problem, because maybe they don't count because they're tokens, but
no, they're going to count. They have economic value.
They're going to count.
Yep, they're bearer instruments.
Yeah, I had not thought of this.
Good thinking. They're probably screwed on multiple levels, but this is definitely
yeah.
This is I mean, design challenge. Nice.
I mean, if Bitcoin can be classified as property under this law, I assume the tokens can be too. Like,
yeah, property is going to be pretty generic, right? It's going to be something along the lines of anything with economic value. So
wow, I did not even realize that until now.
That bat token just keeps popping its ugly head up.
And it's hilarious because, I mean, like, BAT's a shit show on its own right, but even a major company like Coinbase, whose, like, entire, like, sales pitch is we're the regulated big boys. Like, they just completely screwed up in complying with a very specific law dealing with this situation. I mean, like, it's...
And that's not the only one, right? There's another one too that goes into any more of this stuff that shows like they're not really doing all that they're saying they are.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, the next lawsuit they got hit with, I really like the Bcash one. I don't think is really going to have a lot of legs underneath it, just because, I mean, like, there really is no specific regulation in this space. So, while I would argue personally that it's, like, immoral or unethical, like, what they did regarding the launch, I mean, there's not really any specific laws covering it. But I mean, to get into that real quick, there's also a pending class action lawsuit regarding the launch of Bitcoin Cash.
there's 2 lawsuits filed against Coinbase in the last 24 hours.
it lasts 2 days. This Bcash one was filed on the 1st, and the one regarding unclaimed property was filed yesterday.
Oh man, wasn't Coinbase like warned pretty explicitly by a large group of people that this was probably a bad idea and they would probably get sued?
Yeah, but I mean, like this one, like I think is probably going to really go nowhere. I mean, they're pretty much citing as like the basis and evidence all of the social media information, like Brian's tweets and blog posts about insider trading and the fact that Coinbase would investigate, and then kind of goes through like all of their blog posts dealing with Bitcoin Cash, like their initial statement that they're not going to support it because the network isn't stable or mature enough, and then the follow-up like, okay, we'll support it, but not until January 2018, and then we'll only let customers withdraw, not actually do trading or anything. And then the surprise, like here's trading in a couple minutes. And like honestly, I totally expected this to happen. I mean, it just really seems like people are getting fed up with the incompetence and stupidity with a lot of businesses in this space. But this first lawsuit in dealing with unclaimed property, I definitely think like that's going to have a material settlement, or like that's actually going to have a detrimental effect in some way on Coinbase. But this second lawsuit with Bitcoin Cash, I mean, honestly, I think this is going to go nowhere. I mean, like I said, I think it was completely unethical and immoral, but at the end of the day, there really is no regulation in this space and nothing to kind of like, there's no legal weight behind it. It's pretty much just crying like, you guys did something that isn't illegal in this space. Like, we're going to sue you. And I mean,
I don't know, man. I mean, the law is super unpredictable. Even if you had something where you were like really confident, right? Like if you had a lawyer that was like, yeah, we're definitely going to win, or it doesn't look good, I'm pretty sure we're going to lose. There's like a massive margin of error on any particular judge predicting what they're going to do on even really simple stuff. So I guess I'm not as pessimistic that this isn't a legitimate complaint, especially because it doesn't pass my that's a jerk move rule, right? Like if you're doing something as a business and you do something that the average person would say is shady, there's a reasonable chance that there's going to be a judge that agrees and will take the law to, even twist it if they have to come to the conclusion that you need to pay. So I wouldn't want to be them. I mean, I've said a million times, I would not be an angel investor in this shady institution.
And we did see like, there was like some reports on Twitter that somebody had some information from employees there and testimony about it. And I mean, like you're saying, it's up to the judge's laws on the books and all that stuff. I think, that stuff is changing too. So I don't know, it might affect them on their bottom line and having to pay some penalty or fee. But the reality is like, at least like all this stuff is just sort of like showing that it could be a problem in the future. So don't continue to do it type deal, because that launch was pretty crappy. I think I read somewhere in here that one of the guys filing in this lawsuit, he's like, he bought Bitcoin Cash like right whenever that pump happened and then lost a lot of money. And so I don't know, it's something where I feel like some sort of accountability should come into play. But I mean, if we'll see like some sort of official statement or something like that, I don't know. It might just be something where the community kind of enforces its own rules and just sort of stops using their service.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I really personally don't see it going anywhere, JW. But I mean, if it does, that's just like a double whammy. And I mean, in all likelihood, they're probably just going to end up settling for anything that appears like it's going to have a decent chance of winning in court. But I mean, just like fuck up after, like they have to be hemorrhaging money. I mean, pissing away like fees that are 10 to 100 times more than they should be paying. Like they've had to settle out like things like flash crashes and shit before. Like it's just like this, like every problem they have, like this is killing their ability to sell, like, or go public at some point, especially with like Bitflyer cutting in, Gemini expanding, Square, like they're getting squeezed by competition in the short term, and they're just hemorrhaging money.
Yeah, I think the PR effect is pretty negative here too. I mean, you're right. As competition comes in, you lose that first mover advantage. So you really want to have a brand name that is positive, right? Like if Nike was the first ones to go big with tennis shoes, but every time you turned around, you were hearing a bad news story about Nike, Reebok would have had a much easier time just beating the life out of them, right? But they didn't do that. They worked really hard to create a positive image, and all their marketing was positive, and they were really careful about how they treated employees and all of that sort of stuff, because that's the whole point of being the first mover. You have to create a brand that has value, that's trusted, it's recognized, and people like it. If you create a brand and it's like negative, right? Like you're dead, and you're probably dead anyway. Like if you're the first mover, it's not easy to survive either way, because the competition will come in, they'll see your profits if they're good, and they'll say, well, we can afford to lose money for the next X number of years as long as we can get X percentage of Coinbase's business, right? So it's like, it's cutthroat, it's brutal, whether you have the first mover advantage or not. And if you have this constant stream of bad press among a pretty tight-knit community, yeah, I think your days are numbered, but we'll see how it all plays out.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, you know, like their long-term plan is like either trying to sell it to somebody or IPO. And if like all this press coverage just showing how much they're hemorrhaging money, like how efficiently they handle things, like all this incompetence and bad press and brand damage, and then like competition sprouting up everywhere. I mean, like they're really just screwing their valuation for like either going public or selling. And I mean, it's just like, I really pity the people who invested in Coinbase.
Yeah, they're definitely burning down through those coins. I mean, ever since the whole, the transactions and everything getting filled up with the fees, and they're screwing up their batching, and it just, yeah, like you're saying, it's hemorrhaging money. I mean, like it is, I don't know, like if they, like how much more money can they afford to lose? I'm not sure, but I don't know. I'm sure like paying off some sort of fine on this won't be too much trouble for them, but it's just, yeah, I think hopefully, like your JW saying, the negative PR is going to be the bigger effect on this, because, what the ecosystem's trying to achieve, their goals, and the ecosystem's goals seems to be different. So eventually they'll sort of not be relevant anymore.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's, Can't we just have one thing that finally drags Coinbase down and just kills them, please? Like, can we just get it over with fast?
Robinhood, Cash App, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, you're right.
Third base.
Yeah, I was just redoing the exchange slide today, and I had to add a couple of exchanges on there. So yeah, this competition's coming. They'll eventually get out of here.
Mm-hmm. All right, so guys, ready for one of our second favorite people to shit all over?
Sure.
Another huge fumble in Bitcoin Cash land. Apparently, Bitcoin.com wallet, so also Copay, which it was forked from, stores your word seed in plain text. And this isn't even the best part. Not only does it completely throw security out the window, but Roger Ver is saying there's no problem with this. On our BTC, he says that the air quote vulnerability they are reporting is that if your entire device is compromised by hackers, your funds might be stolen. That doesn't seem newsworthy to me.
Right. Like, when do we need to know that?
Yeah, I didn't spend a lot of time looking at this because I have to throw up in my mouth every time I say Rod or Bitcoin.com. But just to clarify, if your seed is encrypted on your device, then even if somebody gets access to that file, they can't open it. That's the whole idea of encryption. Whereas if they get root access to your device, they have permission to read the file, is what root access means. But if it's encrypted, they still wouldn't be able to get to it. So it's not like somebody can just know your phone number and necessarily grab your seed. It's not like a remotely exploitable vulnerability or something like that. But it's still a legitimate vulnerability that you would want to avoid. So yeah, saying it's not an issue is stupid.
Well, it's pretty bad. As prevalent as malware is nowadays, like you go and you plug your phone into your laptop and you have some kind of virus on there that just scans your phone for plain text seeds, you're done. Your Bitcoins are gone.
So Roger Ver knows absolutely nothing about security.
Yeah, which is really bad for a person like him, who has so much money and has so many contacts. I would hate to be a contact of his, knowing that he's thinking, oh yeah, stuff stored on your device is okay if it's unencrypted as long as your device isn't compromised. Well, clue, Roger, most people's devices are compromised in some way because most smartphones are not built to be resilient in terms of security. They're really poorly built. So yeah, good luck with all your communications and money. I guess your device has just become a major target.
Oh man.
And to top it all off, to touch back on two stories we've covered before on the show, Bitcoin.com's wallet sends your master pub key to the node's server that it connects to check your balances. So the server that it connects to has all of your addresses, every address that your wallet will ever generate, and is able to track it. And as we've shown before with Roger Ver's whole blockchain info freak out back in the day, he is perfectly willing to dig through all of the information that his services collect. Because again, in this post, Bitcoin.com users' wallets are already secure. Over $1 billion worth of funds are currently stored with the Bitcoin.com wallet across nearly 2 million wallets. If there was a major security vulnerability with our open source wallet, those billions of dollars worth of funds would have already been stolen.
Yeah, so, Frank in New York at 1831 Riverside Drive. That guy's got $257,000 in his Bitcoin balance, and he would not be happy with Bitcoin.com if that had been hacked. So we would have heard about
it. And yeah, like to recap the blockchain info incident, Roger got into a dispute with a customer of the Bitcoin store.com. who was using a blockchain info wallet. And Roger is an investor in blockchain info and at the time had administrator access. So he went and grabbed all of this person's personally identifiable information and posted it all on Bitcoin talk.org. And he literally doxed this person, shamed him. It was saying he's only going to remove their personal information from a public website if they give them the money back. And at the time, the amount of Bitcoin in question was worth $50.
Oh man. Yeah, this story is kind of like, I don't know, like we did a few months back, we did when Segwit 2x was coming out and BCH, we did that little security review of Bitcoin.com's wallet, and I downloaded it and did some stuff with it, and yeah, just very obvious like that security was not important at all in the setup and the way that just the whole system worked together. It was very, I don't know, it was a problem. It's something where I just deleted the whole folder that the wallet came in and just nexted out that whole experiment, because yeah, I don't know what they're doing over there other than they don't understand what we're trying to do, and so they
So wait a minute. Are you telling me that I sent you like $20 and free Bitcoin and you were so concerned about the security of that shady Bitcoin.com wallet that you just nuked it because you didn't want your privacy compromised?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, man.
No, that is the right decision. I'm glad that you did it, actually. So yeah, just for everybody else, we were testing Bitcoin.com because we actually thought that we were going to end up losing Bitcoin because the address, when you go to buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin.com, it ends up sending you through a user flow where you grab a Bitcoin Cash address to send your Bitcoin to. And I wasn't totally familiar. I thought that Bitcoin Cash had adopted the new address format pretty broadly, but Bitcoin.com, they're a-holes, and so they didn't. And you can recover it, and maybe there's an automatic way that they deal with that at Bitcoin.com, probably some baling wire and duct tape. So the end result wasn't that you lost your Bitcoin the way that we suspected. We were actually kind of excited that was going to be an interesting vulnerability report. But the end result was the Bitcoin eventually did get there, at least in our case. Maybe if the balance was high enough, I don't know if it would get there. I wouldn't want to test it with more than $20, but yeah, the user experience is really, really awful and definitely designed to push you into a Bitcoin Cash wallet, even when you're trying to buy Bitcoin, which is, it's awful, but it wasn't exactly the big revelation we were hoping there.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Just, I don't know. It just shows that they really aren't thinking that much about security and like what Bitcoin's all about and everything. And so, I don't know, just seeing Roger make this comment on Reddit sort of just showing like his naivety towards this sort of thing that we're trying to accomplish. I don't know. It makes sense after working with that wallet for a little bit.
Well, I mean, sorry, go ahead. You need.
Yeah, so just for anyone who's wondering, if you ever find out that a cryptocurrency wallet that you're using stores the keys in plain text on any device, on your phone, on a hardware wallet, any of it, if it stores it in plain text, do not use it ever.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, Rick and JW with Roger Ver, you need to poke into all that stuff because, the guy is an idiot. He thinks that plain text is a safe way to store your word seed. Like, he's literally shilled and bankrolled. I seriously think the one CoinJoin implementation for Bitcoin Cash that somehow fucked it up in a way where people could lose money and not just have the CoinJoin fail. And I mean, like, that is just like, wow. Like, how do you do that? Like, the entire thing is designed so that that's not supposed to be possible. And like, yeah, I mean, he he thinks that just the booth babe that makes terabyte blocks make sense. I mean, it's just he is like a train wreck of the worst possible ideas in this space all rolled into one, and just somehow not self-aware enough to realize it.
What do you think the odds are that he's yelling "shake your terabyte blocks" right now?
Yeah, just like the whole country idea, that one too. It's just like, yeah, if you see like his thought process through and you spend some time poking around Roger's brain there, it's definitely got some weird roads that lead towards like the same problems.
Hey guys, I'm a voluntarist / libertarian who thinks that governments are completely amoral and all countries should disappear. So I'm gonna buy my own country and start a government, guys.
Right, great idea.
It'll be super secure. There really wasn't any interest or insight in that whole cypherpunk movement thing that resulted in Bitcoin, thinking that we really couldn't set up another country, so we needed to flee to cyberspace. That was, I don't remember that part. We're just going to set up a country.
Yeah, definitely not going to have any trouble with that whole doing your own currency thing and, having your own borders protected and being safe from the military.
So dumb.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we want to move along into some, I guess, interesting news from Japan.
Hell yeah, man. Let's get out of this craziness.
All right. So, Amazon, you have dropped the blockchain ball. Your Japanese competitor, Rakuten, is going to transition their $9 billion loyalty rewards program into a cryptocurrency.
I thought it was pronounced Rakuten, like a Hadouken type deal. I was going to fiddle around with the artwork and make them doing a Hadouken Rakuten, creating their.
I don't know. I butcher all non-American pronunciations, and I just hope that our international viewers will forgive my American ignorance.
Yeah, please do the same. Afford me that same leeway, please.
But you know, this is actually I think this is something that really could start like making a lot of impacts as far as major corporations using, I guess, blockchains or tokens for things. Because I mean, if anybody who's a regular viewer remembers, Blockstream is actually partnering with Digital Garage and I believe Mitsubishi in Japan to kind of work on tokenizing rewards points and loyalty programs and stuff like that. And you know, there is a whole bunch of reasons why a full-on like tokenized fiat currency introduces a lot of problems, and there's just a lot of barriers to actually doing that in a way that doesn't cause economic chaos. But kind of like companies dipping their toes in with things like, you know, these loyalty programs or rewards points, I think is probably something that's going to take off a lot faster than most people might think. I mean, like, you know, it's anybody who's kind of thrifty to any degree. Like if you have something like this somewhere you shop, like, hey, money, like give me some back so I can save it. And just the potential for like the transferability of that with a kind of tokenized system, and just like it introduces the opportunity to look at it less as just like purely like that discount or coupon, and more of like a 21st century like corporate script, like, you know, an actual like corporate based like currency of sorts. And I really think that like introduces a lot of, I mean, I wouldn't say efficiencies per se, you know, especially as far as like dealing with the back end, but it definitely removes a little bit of friction for like the consumer side of things. And just like it's literally creating a new market that doesn't come with all the problems of like, hey, if we pull fiat currencies out of banks as we know them, like that screws up loans, that screws up like the entire way the financial system is organized. It's like, oh, hey, like I'm a company, I have this thing, and I can just switch it over like this and see what happens, because I don't have to worry about that destabilizing whole parts of the financial sector.
Yeah, I kind of look at it as like they're adopting an intranet, right? It's a little stupid because we already have an internet, but it's still helpful. It's still headed in the right direction. They're taking steps towards adopting the internet, right? They're taking steps towards adopting Bitcoin. Somebody was asking me the other day whether, you know, we made a mistake, and I say we, but that's how he phrased it, by focusing so much on Lightning and microtransactions and, you know, being able to scale, and we didn't focus on more confidential transactions because, you know, the story goes Monero has value and it now has confidential transactions and we don't. And I obviously didn't agree that that open source software works like that, and really hard problems you can just throw it on a Gantt chart and just check things off. But I did kind of, you know, I was like, I don't know. I mean, in a hypothetical world, would it have been more important to focus on privacy, you know, assuming the same resources and all that? And I wasn't really sure, but stories like this remind me how important Lightning is, right? Like it is freaking amazing, because these guys have to do something stupid right now if they wanted to accept cryptocurrencies and save the massive amount of money that comes along with that on fraudulent credit card purchases and just credit card fees. They can't do that until Lightning is here and it's up and running. So Yeah, I think this is positive, and it just reminds me again how important Lightning is and why we should all be like way more excited about it than I think I am most days.
I mean, like, honestly, JW, like, I mean, Lightning is going to be fucking amazing, and I think it's going to eat a lot of the financial sector's lunch in terms of like processing payments. But I mean, I'm honestly like, I want to see like a Xiaomi and e-server set up. Like, I want to see some jurisdiction somewhere like pull their head out of their ass and realize that like not only do we have like the decentralized currency now, not only are we finally starting to roll out like a decentralized like payment layer for it, but we can also do insane privacy improvements and like throughput improvements for custodial things in like the whole spectrum.
I have the most sarcastic comment that anybody's going to make this year, I predict. You should reach out to Roger Ver, man. He's setting up a country. He'll probably hook you up.
But I mean, I mean, somebody somewhere, when they become aware of things like that, is going to do it. I mean, you know, like there's an example later. A smaller European country kind of starting to take steps to integrate things a lot more officially. And I mean, you have countries out there like Switzerland trying to set it up as like a crypto safe haven, like Japan embracing things pretty much full on. I mean, like eventually somewhere, like they're going to realize like, hey, this will attract more capital. Like this will open up more business opportunities. Like it will introduce actual competition in terms of custodial financial services. And it actually protects the end user's privacy. I mean, it like at the end of the day, it's custodial, but it completely removes all of the ways that the custodian can abuse like its customers' private information.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see Lightning Network come online and actually, you know, bring some of this, like you're saying, this anonymity into the space and really kind of, you know, give some of that fungibility. And like you're saying, I mean, just sort of create these economies that are going to run on their own. I mean, like, I was just interested in it because, like, I mean, the way loyalty points and gift cards and companies issue that stuff right now, there's no real like accountability towards that system. So just seeing some sort of accountability enter that system as far as like issuing something that can be audited and everything. But like you're saying, I mean, eventually it has to go towards Bitcoin and Lightning. And for right now, it's just good to see they're working on something.
Because I mean, like, you know, like the whole reason I brought that up is like if you look at like Rakuten, like doing a kind of blockchainized rewards points program. Well, like if you really think about it, at the end of the day, like even if you do put it on a blockchain, even if that blockchain is totally decentralized, the whole value of the thing comes from this centralized company promising to redeem it. And I mean, like that kind of Xiaomi and eCash model, like would work perfectly for something like this. Like it's not introducing the inefficiencies of a blockchain. It's not adding all of this overhead. It's designed to be private for the end user from like the most basic primitives, like all the way up. And like it would still allow them to issue like rewards points for things. And so like you could kind of take this, we're going to blockchain things and toss away the bullshit and still have like a bearer bond, like cryptographic, like rewards program.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome to see these systems develop. I mean, like they're saying, this is an Amazon competitor. They say they're a little bit different in philosophy than Amazon, saying that, you know, they like to, let's see here. It says something about merchants. Sorry. Their concept is to recreate the network of retailers and merchants, as opposed to Amazon, I guess, to, you know, be like this middleman and everything. So it's going to be interesting. They got 44,000 merchants, and like Amazon's working on their Amazon Go store. And if they want to do anything as far as like making that a real system. I mean, they're going to need a crypto, and so the competition is going to probably push Amazon towards working on something. I've heard, rumblings about that last year, and I'm sure they're still contemplating all that.
It's just, but like I want to see like these companies like not just fall into like the snake oil salesman like blockchain bullshit. It's like, just if you do not need something that you explicitly want entirely out of your control, like you can build these kind of things with cryptography without like the bullshit. Like if you're going to be in the system a central point of control or influence, like anywhere material that affects the value of the entire system, like just cut out the bullshit. Like just use those cryptographic primitives that you can on your own, and don't add pointless costs. But I guess other interesting news from Japan. 16 major exchanges are forming a group to self-regulate the industry. And so this is kind of an interesting development, because ever since Japan went for the licensing scheme with exchanges, they've actually had a few different like regulatory groups. What were they? Like the JADA, the Japan Authority of Digital Assets. They also have the JBA, the Japan Blockchain Association, and the Japan Cryptocurrency Business Association. And so they have like a bunch of different like disconnected advocacy or self-regulatory bodies with just like a few fractured companies between them. And like the 16 exchanges pretty much forming this new unnamed one are like most of the dominant exchanges in Japan. And like it's like, Japan in a lot of ways, just in the world in general, is kind of like a canary in the coal mine for like a lot of the developed world, as far as like kind of pushing the boundaries and seeing like new ways you can kind of handle, I guess, just organizing society in general. And I mean, they've really been keeping to that pattern in the crypto space. I mean, if this kind of works successfully and is a productive model, I mean, I would really like to see like things like this pop up in other countries, or maybe even like make a stab at like a kind of global or semi-global equivalent of this. Because I mean, at the end of the day, the businesses dealing with the regulations are probably going to have a lot better insight than the regulators, who really have no freaking idea what's going on in this entire ecosystem.
Yeah, this is a great example of like, the industry sort of stepping up and sort of regulating itself. And like, that's a great thing. I mean, like, a lot of people don't like the idea of governments jumping in to regulate. So anything where, these guys are sort of stepping up to try and do the right thing and get everybody on the right road without some sort of nanny coming in to say like, this is the right road. I mean, great. Like, yeah, this would be awesome to see that sort of thing sort of catch on, and where maybe a lot more of that sort of interactions going on, to where like proper regulation can come in when it does.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of blurring the line for me, because the free market solution is something like a certification body, right? But a no violence sort of group, right? So like if we were all going to build car tires, and we wanted to be able to slap a logo on the car tires that says, certified by Fred is, really diligent about checking and making sure that our car tires don't blow up on the road. That's totally fine. It's all good. It's free market competition. So if Tom turns out to be a better judge of whether tires are going to blow up on the road than Fred, then people will have a tendency to go to him. If Fred gets sloppy and starts taking payoffs, right, to put his logo on tires that are going to blow, then people even more have a tendency to just ignore him, because he's no longer trustworthy. So really, like, even as an ANCAP, like we want all of that stuff to happen. We just want there to be competition in place. We don't want Tom to be, or Fred to be, the only guy that gets to be able to do that, because we know that that's just going to create corruption, and eliminating competition and providing a monopoly on any service is always a bad thing. So this first step is good, right? Where they're just getting together and they're agreeing to certain standards, and they're going to sort of say, secured by Bob or whatever, right? That's all good. If it does become more formalized, then we'll see the normal problems that we have with regulation, where the regulators will become paid off and corrupted, and the existing players will be able to create regulation that's specifically designed to exclude competition. The typical regulatory capture thing that people are worried about. But so far, I think this first step looks positive.
I would like to see, a rule set created that's so agreeable that it's very hard for the regulators or any kind of regulating body to actually have to act on it. Like, it's the whole community as a whole, right? The experts, right, are more so the regulators in this case, right? And as long as that information is disseminated readily, then I think we can maybe avoid those problems. This is a long and arduous process to create an environment where we don't need like direct governmental regulation. And I think this starts giving us a good cursory look at how this might unfold.
Yeah, and I mean, like, let's say, JW, that things do go like south in Japan in terms of like Japanese regulation. This does become more formalized and more bureaucratic and starts suffering all those problems of regulatory capture. I mean, we've already seen quite a few times, at least in China's case, and starting to happen more and more in other jurisdictions, where a business will just pick up and move or expand outside of that jurisdiction. And I mean, if things do go bad in Japan, then like I think we'll start seeing that global dynamic of other jurisdictions stepping in and kind of fixing what Japan fucked up and offering a competition for that. And I mean, we'll start to see like different legal or national jurisdictions like actually compete with each other for those kinds of things, instead of this kind of UN NATO enforced like standard that everybody's kind of held to or coerced into complying with.
Yeah, I mean, the history of this stuff is usually there will be, actually, because the market creates a demand for trust, right? And so the typical story goes, the chemical industry is producing something and the competition gets better, and then they create sort of these third-party standards, and then the government can come in and just grab those standards and just monopolize them, right? That's actually the typical history. It's the story that that people get indoctrinated with is different, but that's the truth. That's normally how it goes. The story that the government tells you is that companies are competing, and somehow that competition doesn't result in better products and services or more reliable results to the consumer. It results in, big fat cats just somehow not being in competition. And then government comes in and sort of grabs that and makes it safe and reliable. So, but yeah, I mean, that's the great thing about Bitcoin. Screw them. What are they going to do? You can't regulate Bitcoin. So you can make it a little bit more difficult to buy it. You can make it a little bit more difficult to sell it, but it's just stretching out the timeline. That's not actually changing the game.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's like I feel like I'm just kind of repeating myself saying this, but I really feel like the next few years are going to be very fucking interesting. I mean, like things are really just kind of snowballing, and I don't really think like as people watch that happen, they really appreciate like how fast things are going to grow and how fast things are going to speed up. I mean, like precedents get set, things happen, and that just gains a momentum of its own, and it just runs away with itself.
Yeah, totally. It's getting exciting. Not that it hasn't been for the last few months, but it's I completely agree. It looks really bright.
Yeah, it's good to just see people doing something different. I mean, like you're saying, I mean, they may screw up and, something changes along the way, but it's good just to see people doing it this different way and see if we can, do it the right way.
Mm-hmm. And Auntie in the chat is asking, shouldn't decentralized exchanges make this point mute? And I mean, hopefully over time, but
yes. Thank you. Gosh, what an important point, man. This is, we're talking about a bunch of centralized honeypots of death and destruction getting together and trying to make decisions. You're absolutely right. Localbitcoins.com, BISC network, cash by mail. That's what you guys want to be doing. And that's hopefully where we're headed. So, yep. Yeah, really good point.
And I will reiterate before we slide on to the next one. If you see a phone number or an email address posted somewhere on the internet, nothing is stopping you from just making a phone call or writing an email. Wink, wink.
Too subtle for me, man. I didn't get
it. Creating accounts are optional. But in other news,
are you talking about trying to send Bitcoin to some of these greasy government folks and get them on our side? What are we talking about? I'm completely missing.
I'm saying that,
although that's a good campaign. Instead of sending a letter to your senator, send him $1 worth of Bitcoin and see if he claims it.
I have used local Bitcoins quite a lot. And my memory's kind of bad, but I don't think I ever signed up for an account.
Right. Yep. You don't have to. Yeah, that's a good point. And most of the purchasing options don't require you to KYC yourself. You do have to look for it, but I shouldn't say most of them, many of them. So yeah, you could either not sign up for an account or sign up for an account with a temporary sort of burner email, get one at Gmail or somewhere better, and just throw it away when you're done. And you can maintain total anonymity. Do a transaction with somebody that's got like 10,000 or 1,000 plus trades and a really good rating, and yeah, it works great. You don't need Coinbase. You don't need these jerks that are going to keep your home phone number, your address, your wife's maiden name, your social security, and your Bitcoin balance all in a nice fat database. You really don't have to do that.
Yep. And in other news, the long-awaited era of the SEC going ham on everybody's ass seems to be gearing up for full swing. I would really hate to be somebody who has put their name on an ice. Jeff Garzik, I've been healing him.
Brandon Ike.
This might cause a lot of legal trouble for these guys because, yeah, they're subpoenaing everybody. The people organizing things, the people selling things, the people advising for and pitching things, for the actual sale itself, for the pre-sale that seems to have become a kind of a standard thing where they'll let big whales buy in early and then kind of shuffle stuff off on others before the actual ICOs even started. I think we're going to see a lot of red in some very specific subcategory of CoinMarketCap over the next couple months.
Yeah, the sad thing about this that I've been thinking about since I saw the story break is that if you're a professional scammer and you know what you're doing and you're good at it, what you did is you raised a bunch of money and then you just sat on it. You didn't spend it on development or trying to build a product or anything, because you know that there's a chance the regulators are going to come after you and you're going to have to pay them off, right? And maybe you'll have to pay them off 100%. Maybe it's not likely they'll want even more than that. But if you just kept it all and you're willing to hand it over to the government, you're probably going to be just fine, right? But if you were actually honest about it, then you're really screwed because you raised, $100 million or whatever. And if you've already burned through $60 million on a massive dev team, probably doing something that's ridiculous. So this is going to be a niche anyway. But then you're actually the one that's going to be hurting the hardest when they show up and they say, where's my cut? Because you've already blown it on trying to build something. So the guys that are the greasiest are going to fare the best in this whole thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, especially if you're willing to hand over like a list of all the people that you sold the token to.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. The greasy guys know how to flip informant and keep the cash ready for the bad guys.
I mean, like, you know, for this article, Dan Gallagher, former SEC commissioner for 4 years, we're seeing the tip of the iceberg. There's going to be a ton of enforcement activity. And I mean, it's just like so many of these ICOs are complete and utter scams. Like, so many of them that maybe they didn't run off and scam money for doing absolutely nothing, but what they're doing is complete and utter fucking nonsense. And I mean, like, this, like, I mean, come on, guys. Like, people have literally been, like, lawyers have literally been screaming at people in this space for years, like, this is going to happen. Like, they move slow, but this is going to happen. They're going to do something. Like, you're not just going to get away with this forever. And here we go.
Yeah, honestly, like, this is one of those things where I've kind of been waiting to see this sort of stuff be handed down to where, like, some of these, you know, scams, and sort of we start seeing some sort of framework as far as what is and what isn't and everything. And I don't know, it's interesting because, yeah, like this little thing we had just the other day, like, you know, with JW and his number 2 idea here. It was like, I thought that was kind of like you were showing, like, oh man, this is like the way to do it if you're going to do it. And, you know, I think that's kind of what they're looking for. They're looking for all that sort of information, where if you're going to do something, you got to be open and honest about the whole thing. And then, you know, you get it up. But like JW's saying, you know, that's not exactly the best thing for when the regulators come. So I don't know. It's a freaking landmine field to try and do that game. That's why I just stay away from it.
So my number 2 coin, it did launch this morning, by the way. And so the thing is though, I'm not a scammer, right? So if I'm not a scammer, I'm not going to tell you where you can buy it. I'm not going to play the, hey, it exists, you shouldn't buy it. But if you did want to buy it, it has some amazing properties, and here's where you can get it.
Oh my Lord.
So the
Who
number
do you
2,
work for, number 2? Who?
This, yeah, that's where it's like, yeah, so I guess I'll be a part of the SEC record filing cabinet, you know.
Shit, you're a promoter. You're going down hard, like Kodak One. You should throw that up so we can look at that. That's pretty interesting.
Such a liquid thing. Good Lord, JW.
All
right.
Do it. But okay. I think Janine had a few comments on an article she dug up, though.
Yeah, well, while you guys were talking, I just looked at the Kodak One platform Twitter, because I haven't looked at it in a while, and they only really have 2 tweets so far since they announced that they were postponing the launch. And they have postponed the launch, by the way, because they originally they said that the platform was going to be up like sometime this year. It actually won't be up until 2018. So yeah, good luck with that. But this article I thought was funny, 'cause it's an interview between the CEO of When Digital, which is a German company that is actually what it used to do before it became an ICO. Kind of, it like partnered with a bunch of ICO companies. It used to be a company that would like be an intermediary for paparazzi to license their photos. So this interview is basically him saying, oh, we thought that the ICO market was going to be an unregulated space, and then it started looking like it was going to become a regulated space, so now we have to play by the rules. It's like boring, boring. Because as we pointed out before in the show, what they mean when they say playing by the rules is that the only people who are going to be able to buy and sell and use this token are accredited investors, which is people that have at least $1 million of net worth, either by themselves or with their partner. So yeah, that's going to be a really fun photo sharing platform, guys. I'm so waiting for that niche market of accredited investor photography.
Well, we thought that there was going to be like no rules and we could just do whatever we want, but there are rules, so we're not doing it.
I already got a mighty contract.
The best part is that they've already cashed in because their stock shot up so drastically after the announcement. So this is yet again we were going to do a scam, but then we realized we shouldn't. Oh my gosh, that was such a good scam.
Yeah, apparently when they said that they were postponing the launch or the ICO date, the stock went down by 15%. So.
Oh my God. And unlike crypto land in Coinbase's case, insider trading is actually illegal for Kodak.
It's illegal, but it's super common, and it's almost impossible to stop. There's things that they do, like who is that old lady that like sells purses or something that got in a lot of trouble over like $20,000. She's like a mogul though. Anyway, there's occasional stories on the insider trading folks getting really nailed, but it happens constantly, and as long as they don't want to make an example out of you, you'll be fine. So I can almost guarantee you some people made some money on that Kodak deal, and nothing's going to come of it.
Yeah, and the one thing I think that everyone should kind of really take note of from all of these ICOs is that any of them that are going to be, any way interacting with United States persons, like if you have to comply with US regulations, like it doesn't matter where you are in the world, if you want to interact with US persons, you are basically at the mercy of the United States government. Like, doesn't matter where you are, you have to follow their rules. You have to make everyone involved in the system follow their rules. And that's like extremely limiting. Like, that's one of the reasons the financial system hasn't been able to innovate, is because the US government has such a large amount of power over the financial system in the world, because they have control over the biggest financial companies, which are based in the US and are, able to spread across the world, and they have all these customers, and basically most of the world is under the control of the US government through the financial system, and the ICOs are not any different.
Totally. Yeah. Martha Stewart, if you're listening, I'm sorry I said you're an old lady. I'm pretty fit, and if you want to give me a call, I'm very interested, because I think you're worth over $100 million.
Oh man.
Gold digger, JW.
Stole the words out of my mouth.
No, actually, I did feel a little bad by describing somebody that is probably really hardworking and successful as an old lady that makes purses. So I had to correct that a little bit.
Oh man. And some other silly contrast.
Good luck transitioning once again there, Shinobi.
Boom. Transition done. Hey, while the SEC is going all ham on everybody, Papa Giancarlo is acting real weird, like that dad who's trying to act like he's hip and he knows what the kids are up to these days, but he just looks like a total goofball.
You got that Friday feeling, man. That Friday feeling.
If you're listening and can't see this tweet, it's from the head of the CFTC, and it's like, is hashtag crypto, hashtag FOMO your hashtag Friday feeling, hashtag crypto daddy.
So I'm not young enough to know what hashtag DYOR means. Does anyone know what that stands for?
I'm taking a wild guess. Do your own research.
What does Friday feeling stand for?
Yeah.
Because Friday feeling right next to crypto daddy is creeping me out.
I think TGIF, it would be too bad type deal. So he's like, what are we gonna put besides TGIF? Friday
there's a lot of like Friday hashtags. So there's like follow Friday, or Friday feeling usually is for tweets about like, you know, what are you planning to do for the weekend? Are you excited or something? I don't know.
Not
it's like, are you
it's like creeped out. That didn't help. That description did not help ease my fears about Crypto Daddy.
Are you excited about the work week being over?
It's funny. I wonder if he's like self-defining himself as he's going to be the crypto dad. I don't know. He's definitely got some clout in the space since that hearing. But yeah, that's it sounds like a weird tweet. Friday feeling.
Somebody else has to describe what's on the screen for the audio only guys.
Tobias Fumke from Arrested Development. I'm looking for something that says "Dad likes leather."
In the background, there's a sign that says "Dude hats."
What a great show.
Why is "dude" in quotes?
No idea.
I think anybody who watches the show knows.
I like wait. I like the little one in the bottom right corner that says, "I think I just blew myself."
Just for clarification, Tobias is a Blue Man. He's a Blue Man group stand-in or something, or what do they call that when you're not really? Anyway, he's part of the Blue. Yeah, there you go. Gosh, yeah, these are not translating well for the audio only folks. I don't think.
Yeah, you got to be a housing. What was Arrested Development fan? You got to know these shows.
I think if you're listening on audio and you can't keep up, you just have to go on Netflix and watch the entire Arrested Development series because it's the single best TV show that's ever been created in human history.
Only seasons 1 through 3 though. 4 is awful. Skip that one.
Fire.
I've never seen any of these, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
What? Oh, man.
Have you watched Star Wars?
I've seen parts of it.
Oh,
I told you this, JW. I'm more of a Star Trek.
I had repressed it. It was rattling around in the recesses of my disturbed subconscious. But it's terrible.
I mean, I know what a Wookiee is in general. I understand that is from Star Wars.
There's a little bit of a tear in the corner of my eye right now.
Okay, so get back to the topic. I remember that after that CFTC hearing where everyone was kind of celebrating the fact that they were all like, "Oh, we're not going to talk about past activity. We're going to like give the children the freedom to innovate." I remember Andreas pointing out how paternalistic that was, like very, very like, "Oh, you know, I'm the parent. I'm going to like let you play in the mud for a while, learn your lesson." And then, so the fact that he did hashtag Crypto Daddy kind of really, that kind of shows that that's where they're coming from. Cause that's just, it's weird to have a person in his position using those hashtags. Like, I get what he's trying to do, but it comes off as really wrong.
All right. Dan Darkpill.
The only thing I want credit for is that
Dan Darkpill, if you're watching, you know exactly what the appropriate Arrested Development scene is. I demand a Giancarlo meme by the time we're off the air.
I was just going to say my most important contribution to date has been to subtly convince everybody that it didn't say Crypto Dad and that it said Crypto Daddy was the hashtag. So I'm claiming victory lap on that.
Okay, yeah. He did mention like how in that hearing he did mention about his I think it was his daughter that he's like, yeah, this is something she believes in and I'm gonna allow her to believe in it. So yeah, he is kind of coming from this position where it's like we're gonna allow these kids to try this thing out. So yeah, it's weird.
Well, I mean, it is kind of weird, but it's the natural way societies work over the generations. If you're lucky, you convince the old people to stop being so much of a helicopter person and just let you do things better, and then it repeats itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a broad generalization, but it's not that untrue. I mean, like for the most part, everybody in this ecosystem that understands this stuff well is about 35 years and younger, or maybe 40 and younger. GW. But it's just it's something where for the most part, it's the younger generation working on this thing. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's. Yeah, I love my parents. I love my family, but generationally, the baby boomers kind of fucked everything up, and we have to kind of put the pieces back together.
But that's where it's like, that's where it's like Bitcoin. I don't know. That's where it's like, it's an answer to a problem of our generation because of a problem from the previous.
I just feel like Giancarlo is like, after that CFTC hearing, because he did comment on Twitter saying, "Oh, he was so surprised about how much positive response he got to what he said in the hearing," and so he's probably feeling like, "Oh, I'm like the cool dad now, so I can say all the things that the cool kids are saying."
Yeah, I think you're right.
I'm like the cool dad, so I'm crypto dad. He didn't even say crypto dad. He said crypto daddy. That's really weird.
No, he didn't. I planted that seed in your mind. I reprogrammed your brain to read it as crypto daddy. It was crypto dad, but
it was. Wait a second. Bring it up again. What are you talking about?
Yes.
Bring it up again, Shinobi.
I killed it. I need to reopen it. Hold on. But he brain hacked everybody.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it said crypto daddy.
Brain
what?
hack.
I was the one who came up with the title. I'm pretty sure it said crypto daddy.
It's okay. Everybody's brain is hackable. You just have the right kind.
All you have to do is repeat it a few times with a straight face, and if it's a close enough word, then you can pull it off.
Shinobi,
as
bring up the
everybody
tweet.
Just observed, to the point where Janine just
her
brain can't even accept it. She just can't even believe that I could do that to her. It's not possible.
See, this is why you always have the malware blocker installed in your brain.
Whatever.
You just made my day.
Okay.
I bluffed my way through it, Janine. I was uncertain until I pulled it up.
Well, I did see the tweet. I was the one that shared it in the group chat. And I think I just got, I don't know, I lost the sense of what the actual hashtag was when I came up with the title, "Who's Your Crypto Daddy?" So whatever.
Well, that's true. Yeah, actually, I guess you get credit for you actually tricked me into thinking I was tricking you, and then you got tricked too. This is like some serious 4D operations going on here.
All right, I'm gonna free us from JW's brain virus with news of a great man's freedom. So for those of you who haven't saw, I'm assuming most of you saw, Casa is pivoting to do a hardware wallet security scheme for high net worth individuals. And Jameson Lopp is finally free from Bitgo. He's going to be moving over to Casa. So come on, guys. A round of applause for a great man who has dealt with one of the most competent bosses that I could ever imagine working under in this space.
Yeah. So, this was actually the only app that I saw yesterday at the conference that I was like, okay, this makes sense. Like, they're not launching a token. They're making it easier to do like multi-signature, multi-factor schemes for, I think they said they're mainly going to focus on businesses for now, but they're eventually going to go to individuals. So I don't have any criticisms of Casa as an app. I'm a bit, I'm a bit concerned about the fact that they're getting funding from Boost VC, because as I've been doing my investigation on the My Ether wallet / my crypto stuff, and Boost VC is the venture capital firm that appears to be, or at least plan to invest in my crypto before it was even existing, because they used to be invested in my Ether wallet. And when my crypto launched, like both of the co-founders of Boost VC were tweeting like, everyone follow my crypto. The team has moved now. It was like very weird things. And what I felt was interesting is like, at first I didn't know what the connection was. I didn't know why this random VC company was like, hey, invest in this thing. I figured that they had probably decided to invest in it. But then I looked on their website, and my crypto and my Ether wallet, neither of them are listed on the Boost VC website. So it's like, what is going on here? And so after I did the investigation with all the legal stuff that is still going on between the two co-founders of my Ether wallet, I came to the conclusion that most likely, because one of the things that Taylor did is she registered my crypto wallet. She registered it in Delaware, which is famously well known for being a good place to register if you want venture capital money. So I think is going on is that they have made some promises to my crypto to invest in them after the legal dispute is over, but they apparently think it's too risky for them to announce that now with the ongoing legal dispute. So it's possible. I think it's possible that the founders of Boost VC were kind of involved in the split, because obviously if you're offered, like, they didn't really have any money except for personal funds, but if you get this venture capital company to come along and say, hey, if you split up, then we'll give money to your company. So I'm a bit worried about that. I'm not worried individually about Casa, but yeah, that's a bit concerning in terms of the Boost VC aspect.
Yeah,
I was super excited when I saw this because I thought that that Jameson wasn't going to have to work on Ethereum and Ripple and all that crap anymore. But then halfway down the page, it says they're going to add Ethereum soon. And I was like, wow, that's disappointing. If anybody is doing a startup or has a business in the space, I think it wouldn't be a terrible idea to prioritize Bitcoin over all the crap coins, just from a marketing standpoint, because it would be refreshing to see somebody that realizes that all this stuff has no use, is going to zero, and actually focus on building a useful business instead of just throwing trash around.
JW, you have to consider that there's a huge opportunity for them if they actually get some kind of multi-signature, multi-factor thing working, because Ethereum currently doesn't have that. So they're probably like, woo.
The mind torture has been, you are the master, I am the student.
So they're probably like, large market opening, let's go for that.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's
like
a brutal truth.
The VC funding thing is interesting because, like, I read through this and I was pretty surprised the way they were just like, "There's no way to securely store your cryptos currently." It's like, a Trezor is pretty secure. Like, they're trying to do like ultra security for, people with large amounts of money, and like we had made a discussion about like some sort of where you could do extra secure hardware wallets for large amounts. And yeah, it's just like, if you're going to do that sort of thing, it'd be great if you would just focus on like, securing real value with Bitcoin instead of like focusing on all these other things that aren't really worth your time trying to secure. So that opportunity is still there. If there's somebody who wants to really put together a real secure hardware vault for people with millions in Bitcoin, that opportunity is still there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like, and the product like is pretty damn solid for this. I mean, right now, like they're pretty much trying to shoot for people with like at least a few hundred or like a few tens of millions maybe in crypto assets. But like the whole architecture is pretty much 3 of 5 multi-sig with every key set held on a hardware device. And pretty much what they want to do is have like they retain one device as a security measure to kind of prevent loss in case you lose some of the keys. Want you to have one on your phone, and then you have control of 3 individual hardware wallets that you're supposed to set up, like one at your house or wherever you're living, one somewhere safe, like a safety deposit box, or somewhere off the premises. and then like another at your office or at work or something. And then in that way, because you only have two pretty much on your person at the house at any time, like if somebody like broke in, like kidnapped you, tried to rob you or whatever, like you either need to convince the company to sign off on it, which I'm going to assume that they're probably going to be like a lot of strict procedures for that, or have your kidnapper pretty much walk into your place of business with you or walk into a bank with you to actually get their hands on your cryptocurrency. And then like if they take the two keys you have, then you have the two other devices at other locations and then the one that Casa holds onto. So I actually like it's a pretty like well-designed, robust product in my mind from like a security standpoint. Like it seems like they really kind of balanced the number of keys pretty well in terms of like how that actually plays out in the real world.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Janine.
Well, I just wanted to point out that one of the other apps that I saw there, I'm not quite. I think it was called Token, which is a great name, very original. And it was a ring that you like an actual ring you would wear in your finger, and they had this whole ad thing where they showed how you would use this ring, and it would like hold your credit card information, it would hold your car keys, it would hold your passport, it would hold your house key, and it was like that was the complete opposite of this. Like that was holding all your credentials in one place, and I was like, oh shit, no, please don't do this. But apparently they already have 40,000 people on a waiting list for this ring.
Geez, that just I don't know. That's where it like shows there's a lot of people that are just they're just jumping towards this stuff because they I don't know, they think it's just going to be extra convenient all the way through, and that's just like a problem we see. Like it's a honeypot. But like honestly, I was reading this article, and like we were saying, they're targeting companies or people with large amounts of money, and I was just thinking about a more secure hardware wallet and like the way that you could create one of those on the cheap for maybe like a community. And I was wondering like maybe just sort of spit the idea out there, like instead of having like 3 Trezors where one person's like got it separated control, like maybe there should be like these cheap like little open dime hardware wallets where you can like combine 3 of them to where 3 individuals have those 3, and like you can't move the coins unless all 3 of them use their private keys at once. Or so I was just thinking like there's lots of interesting aspects as far as like creating hardware wallets in the future and multi-sigs and just the way they work together, and being able to do it in a way to where you can maybe get people that don't have much money pooled together to secure their Bitcoin in a way where they can increase their value. You don't necessarily have to start with enough money to buy 3 Trezors, etc. Just an idea I was thinking about, but I don't know.
No, I mean you're right. There's a lot of opportunity to come up with some creative solutions here. The only thing that I haven't spent any time with it, I will though actually if Jameson or anybody wants to reach out to me, I'll do a free like pro bono security review, as long as we can publish the results after you guys have had time to make any corrections, if anything comes up that's worth fixing. So anyway, but the one thing I will mention right now, just to make sure that it's kind of helps people think about stuff like this. And if you guys are listening and this does apply, fix it. The biggest issue that I could imagine is you don't want to have a database of all of your customers, right? So if you're going to store that 3rd key, you may, at the worst case scenario, you have to know the identity of your customer. I don't know if you have to, but hopefully you don't. And if you do, at least keep the amount of time that you know that as small as possible, right? Because you don't want to be Coinbase. You don't want to be a database of a list of people and their home address, or just even names of people that have enough Bitcoin to bother signing up for this service. That would be worse than what you're accomplishing. So,
I mean, I think you could do a lot of things to kind of set things up that way. I mean, just like an idea off the cuff, like if you could have like, because I'm assuming this is all HD deterministic wallets, like there's a whole tree path of like addresses for that. Like if you just like memorize some random
like point down a random path, and it's like, hey, that's my key, and all they need to do is keep like the master pub key and like a path to get to that pub key, and it's like, hey, sign that random key to prove that you're you. Like, you fuck up once and then all the things click and you have to do a lot more to get us to sign off on anything or something. You know what I mean? And then it's like, you can literally generate an infinite number of keys off of that master. Like, if somebody steals it, how the fuck do they know which one it is?
Definitely some interesting stuff, man. It's like I started thinking about like, how could you make sure that if somebody dies in this multi-sig that they're still going to be able to move the coins? It's like there's all this like stuff that's like I just think it's awesome. Like, I mean, you know, I'm working on a few things, and I'm sure there's guys out there that are just like looking for interesting stuff to work on, and I think there's lots of interesting ideas here to build out something.
Mm-hmm. And Janine, is there pictures on this website that my blocky thing that I finally installed are blocking?
No, there's actually it's actually really hard for me to find pictures because they don't appear to have posted any, which is really weird for a company who's trying to sell a piece of jewelry.
Actually, I saw some on the homepage, or it looked like there was a video.
Oh yeah, there. So if you go to the about page, there's a very grayed out picture with a person playing a guitar, and they have a ring on their finger. It's not super obvious. Oh yes, play the video. Play the video. That's the video. Play it.
Connected to your Alexa.
It won't mute it. Mute.
No, that's a charger. You have to charge it. That's part of the, you know.
Oh my god.
You can access everything with this ring. They just grab your ring and then boom, you got everything.
Why would you?
I remember the TSA had something like this that they were trying to get people to sign up for, but I don't think it went on your finger. I can't remember.
Dude, like you don't even have to like mug somebody or like just go to shake somebody's hand and just slide the ring off and run.
Right?
Yeah. They would have a better, I mean, I guess it would be less usable, but they would be better off making a necklace or something which had a string that wasn't easily breakable or something.
I mean, doesn't everybody have to lug around a phone anyway? Like, you can't make phone calls on that, so you got to bring a phone anyway. All that is already built into phones.
I guess it's going to connect to your Google glasses or some craziness.
Well, yeah. So the thing because I looked on the FAQ and it said you don't need to have a phone connected to it. You have to have a smartphone to use to the token app, which is where you have all the credentials. So.
Yeah, I just mean like you have to bring your phone with you anyway, right? Because it doesn't make phone calls. If you're somebody that's interested in this, you probably have a cell phone that you carry with you all the time. So it seems like pretty niche market.
Someone in the troll box is too slow to steal the ring. Just chop the finger off.
That's where it's like it's such a security nightmare. Honestly, like I was talking to somebody the other day about preparing yourself for Bitcoin and OPSEC and everything. And she was just like insistent about like, why do I have to use complicated passwords? It's such a pain in the ass. And it's just like, look, this system is clunky, but it's like, it's meant to be like, this is not supposed to be easy to access and easy to move and all that stuff. And yeah, it's something where there's certainly a market to say, no, it's supposed to be easy. Easy's good. It's convenient. And, don't worry about security risk.
And the Trollbox just reminded me of the first episode of was it the first one? Yeah, the first episode of Black Mirror where that it was like it was so funny because I saw that episode after the David Cameron stuff came out where he had actually done that with a pig several years ago.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, and it just reminded me of that part where like they pretend to like cut off the girl's finger, and it's like, oh my god, imagine if she had one of these rings on. They're like, that would have been such a great thing for a Black Mirror episode that they would have like threatened to use her like access control or something with the ring.
Oh Lord.
Well, I guess if you want to be able to brag about your wealth, right? Like Bitcoin really screws that up for you. You can't it's not very flashy. You can't wear it as jewelry. But now if I see anybody with that ring, I'm going to be like, whoa, they got some Bitcoin. So there you go.
Yep. It's why things like that will never work, that you're supposed to like carry on yourself all the time. It's like it's a product. It's in the public. You can't keep it secret and sell it, so everybody's going to know what it looks like.
Well, I mean, because to some extent, it's a bit better than having a smartphone, because everyone knows that we store, really important stuff on phones. So if you see someone on a phone, you want to take, like, if you want to steal one thing from a person, it's probably their phone, because chances are they don't really have a great password or a PIN on it, so you could be able to unlock it. Whereas a ring, like if I just saw someone walk by and they had a ring on, like the ring doesn't look super unique. Like anyone could mistake it for an ordinary ring. So a ring might actually be slightly better than a smartphone. But I would never get it.
Well, if it's using wireless charging, you think it's Bluetooth all the way through, the way that it's like connecting all these things. I mean, like it's just like it's got to be, just open to all sorts of problems.
Yeah, because look, the only people who are going to be using this ring are people who pay with credit cards for everything, like even a granola bar, as you saw in that marketing video. Apparently, you need this ring to buy a granola bar at a cafe. It's for people who use credit cards for every purchase. It's people whose cars are smart. Not everyone has a smart car that could hook up to a token ring. And it's also for people who have smart doorknobs. Like, there's a whole bunch of things that kind of come with this ring that you have to have in the first place, and most people will not have it. At least I kind of hope most people won't have it several years from now, because I don't want to have internet connected doorknobs everywhere. That's going to be a nightmare.
Right.
Yeah. Like something, like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you know what? I think my key works pretty fine. All right. Trademark jarring segue. Something to help you stay sane. Have you ever looked at blockchain in a sentence and thought that didn't make sense? Have you ever wondered, why doesn't it just say MySQL database or Excel spreadsheet? Look no further. There is a Chrome plugin for you.
I didn't catch this. What's going on?
It's pretty much a Chrome plugin. The link's in the show notes, that will replace blockchain with multiple copies of a giant Excel spreadsheet.
It not only works on articles themselves, like you see here, it also works on the titles, like when you're browsing. So if you look up keywords, it'll change it to that in the title when you're in the browser. So it's pretty funny.
Oh man.
I have great respect for this sort of educational tool.
Yeah, it's weird how educational tools in this place are weird, but this one, it's a good one.
My favorite part of that is the part where it says multiple copies of an Excel spreadsheet are the holy grail.
And it's a giant Excel spreadsheet too.
I love the lulz. Like, trolls are what make Bitcoin fun. All right. And something that kind of shocked me, I mentioned earlier in reference to a small European country. Bank Frick in Lichtenstein is directly integrating cryptocurrencies. So they are going to be directly trading dollar, euro, and Swiss franc pairs for Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Ripple, and Ethereum. Like, it's happened. There's actually a bank that is trading cryptocurrencies.
Okay, but I have one I have one thing to point out about this initial paragraph of this article. First of all, good job. You didn't capitalize the actual coins, but why did you capitalize Ripple? First of all, Ripple is not the coin. How many times do I have to say this? Ripple is not the coin. The coin is XRP, and no one is using it. No one cares. None of these banks care. But why is it that it always gets listed as Ripple? You got so close, because most of them, they'll make the mistake of saying Ethereum instead of Ether. So they got Ether right here, but then they messed up on the Ripple part.
Good God.
I mean, it's
until they include number 2 coin, they just don't know what time it is.
No, we need classic. We need classic.
It took me a long time to like figure out what the joke was about number 2. Because when you told me that name at first, I was like, why is it called number 2? That doesn't.
It's the second most
I know
that joke. I just got that. Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, but you're also making a joke about like
number 2 work for.
This is deadly serious. I'm making no jokes. No, I'm making no jokes about anything. It's the second most secure cryptocurrency, design and implementation. What are you talking about?
I thought it was like kind of a play on like shitcoin, because like number 2.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's mean. I don't know why you guys
just got.
I thought that was the point.
Great. That's so great.
That's so cool.
I thought that was the point.
Listen, I put my blood, sweat, and tears into this thing for minutes.
Don't give yourself a hernia now.
For minutes, I've been working on this project, and it is better than every other altcoin out there. And you would just shame it like that? That's just not nice.
Brutality.
Take a picture when you're done there, JW.
Okay. Back from the land of number 2. Like, I mean, come on, like, guys, a bank is trading crypto. And I mean, they're limiting it to certified and like kind of higher net worth individuals, but it's a bank. A bank is trading Bitcoin. You can buy Bitcoin at your bank.
That's weird.
But Shinobi, the thing that the troll box really wants to know is whether JW's toilet is going to trade in number 2.
I'm telling you guys, it is a serious project. The minimum unit of account, we're not using the Satoshi. It's the Maltard. And if you can, I don't know where you're going to buy Maltards, because I don't think it's a good investment, so I won't help you. But this is a serious project.
Right.
I'm sorry, dude. I just can't stop. The troll in me won't stop.
Right, it's the shit Tochi. Oh, it's bad. All right, we gotta keep going because a bank selling Bitcoin, that's pretty stupid. But yeah, them capitalizing Ripple. I don't know. I always capitalize Bitcoin whenever I'm writing because I feel like it means something more when I capitalize it. So I think they did the same thing with their Ripple here. Try to get off your craziness.
It does mean something, Rick. It means that you don't know when you're supposed to capitalize something.
All right. I mean, like, seriously though, like, this is like the perfect illustration that for like the past year or so, like, it's like one of the longest running themes of the last year or so. The financial institutions have been shitting their pants. What's going on? What do we do? What's happening? Oh my God. And the first one just caved. This bank is the first bank to directly fucking trade cryptocurrencies. They caved. They caved as much as you can possibly cave. They directly integrated Bitcoin and crypto into their banking services. Like, it's like, this is just the start.
Yeah, like, what are you gonna do? You gotta start getting into crypto if you want to remain relevant. This Lichtenstein bank, Fink, it's I'm sure they're gonna be pretty popular there in Liechtenstein.
And I mean, like, you know, dominoes will fall. Like, the first domino doesn't just fall and that's it. All the rest come after that. I mean, it's like, you know, it's okay. All right. You know, actually, I take that back. There's one further slide that they could take, directly giving access to retail customers and not walling it off as like an investment product. Like when that happens, like they have slid as far as they can slide, and it's just game over. Like it will start eating everything.
Yeah, that's right. Because that's right. That's still just accredited investors still. But yeah, once it hits retail and the consumer has the choice of which money is the most sound, it's going to get real interesting.
Yeah, there's no doubt we would have not expected this a year ago. That a major bank is making it this easy. This is great.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of making things easy and being rational, I'm going to pass this next piece of news from Germany off to Janine, who will also sneak in a German lesson for all of us.
Yeah. So this, I think this article came out in like the last 2 days or so. And it's basically about Germany reevaluating the value-added tax applications to cryptocurrencies. Let me get my... so yes, the title of the actual, I think it's like some kind of bulletin from the Bundesministerium of Finance in Germany. And so the title of it is Value-Added Tax Treatment of Bitcoin and Other So-Called Virtual Currencies. Now, if we want to try saying that in German, I'd love to hear you guys go first.
Umsatz Store.
You hush. All right, yeah, we're pretty bad over here.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so value-added tax is umsatzsteuerliche Behandlung. Value-added tax treatment of Bitcoin.
That sounded way too nice. I don't think that's possible.
My brain can't process that. I haven't spoken German in like almost 10 years.
If you don't sound like you're stabbing somebody to death, I don't think that it's proper German. I could be wrong.
Not all Germans yell when they speak. Gosh. So yes,
whisper it can be like, but it still has to be a stabbing sort of tone.
There was like
you just sound like you're speaking the language of Mordor or something. Too much crunchy, or no, what's Dothraki? You're speaking Dothraki. Dothraki often gets compared to German.
There was a song by a band Tool where it was like a description of how to make cookies, but it sounded like just this god-awful like speech in front of like this huge crowd of satanic people, but it was just like a recipe for cookies. I think it's called Unkaina Aya. Unkaina Aya.
It's just some old lady. It's some old lady just reading a sweet like lullaby to their child, but to American ears, it sounds like a satanic ritual. That's about right.
Okay, let's get back to the story. So if anyone's not familiar with what value-added tax is, it's basically a tax on goods and services, like a consumption tax that is collected incrementally. And it's based on the idea that the value of the good or service increased in value during a certain during a certain period of time. So they're talking about value-added tax here, not tax in general. And I want to point out, first thing, they did not say that that trading between fiat currency and cryptocurrency is tax-free. That is still going to be taxed. Nothing has changed there. What has changed is using Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies to directly buy goods and services. So, as I said, the document is made by the Bundesministerium der Finanzen, Ministry of Finance. And so they made a few key determinations about what kind of activity is taxable and what is exempt. So within this document, the things that are not taxable, if you want to just search for a phrase, you would want to look for nicht steuerbar. That means not taxable. Steuerbar is taxable. That's German. So they first talk about the exchange of Bitcoin, as in buying or selling for traditional currencies, which is Umtausch von konventionelle Währungen, sorry, which is the conversion of traditional currencies into Bitcoin or vice versa. And so that is still a taxable event, but I think it is exempt from value-added tax. So there's other taxes that still apply to it, but not value-added tax, probably capital gains tax. Then they talk about the use of Bitcoin as a means of payment to buy goods and services, which is die Verwendung von Bitcoin als where'd it go? Als Entgelt, the use of Bitcoin as a direct means of payment, provided there is no other taxable event that occurs with the payment, such as like you can't have Bitcoin, convert it to fiat, and then buy a good or service. You have to do it directly. You can't. I mean, obviously, if the person that you're buying the good or service from converts it to fiat afterwards, that's fine. But in the direct purchase of the object or service, then that's not taxable. And that includes fees as well. So fees paid in Bitcoin, that also is not taxed anymore. So they're kind of treating it, they basically say in the paper that they're going to treat it as it's not, I don't think it's actually classified as legal tender. In Germany, it might be. I'm pretty sure they classified it officially as a unit of account, not legal tender. But they're saying they're going to treat it as an alternative legal tender. And then there's also, interestingly, the mining of Bitcoin, which is Schiffern von Bitcoin, das Schiffern von Bitcoin, which is mining of Bitcoin. And they say that apparently mining is also a non-taxable event. So if when you're making they make a distinction about the fees that you pay to miners when you make a transaction, the fees that the miners collect from mining transactions into blocks, that is not a taxable event. And also the block reward is not taxed either, which I thought was interesting. It's basically going to be treated as income, not nothing capital gains related, I don't think. Or well, there might be capital gains, but they're not going to charge value-added tax. So that's basically what this 4-page paper said.
So VAT is sort of like sales tax to the US, right?
Yeah.
But it applies in a lot of places where even sales tax doesn't apply in the US. So that's cool. I mean, that's definitely positive that people are going to get messed over less in those transactions. That's awesome. Yeah.
So we've the contrast to the US is that we've recently, in the last several months, we've heard about a bill that I think some Republican congressmen have been trying to pass, saying that if you purchase a good or service up to $600, they won't include any capital gains tax on it. I don't know what that does with sales tax. I assume that sales tax probably still applies, but definitely anything above $600 capital gains is going to apply. Where in this case, it doesn't appear that they've put a cap on it. So I guess if you were in Germany and you have, enough Bitcoin to buy a Lambo, I guess you could do that and you wouldn't have to pay any sales tax, which is pretty interesting.
Progress.
Whereas in the US, you still have to pay capital gains on cents, like pennies, which is stupid.
Yeah, it's good to see some tax regulation come out in crypto, because that's definitely one of the things where a lot of people that are coming into the space now are interested in make sure that they're doing all the right diligence as far as tax work. So yeah, it's good to see some sort of paperwork handed down officially on that.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's really necessary going forward to kind of recognize that, like, hey, you should probably treat the guy who's selling like 100 Bitcoins he's held on to for 5 years a little differently than some guy taking $20 worth and going and buying his groceries with. Because I mean, it's
kind of fucking ridiculous that the guy who's buying groceries has to treat that as the same kind of taxable event as the guy who's dumping 100 coins and taking profit on like a long-term trade. I mean, it's really ridiculous, especially if you look at like the growing numbers of people who are actually getting paid in Bitcoin.
It also illustrates. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm determined not to interrupt you one more time during the show.
Yeah, so I actually mispronounced the German word for mining, which is not Schufer, it's Schürfen. So I wrote it incorrectly in my notes. But I also want to point out, I'm not sure exactly where this is active. Like, I don't know if it's currently within German law with regards to how they're going to treat cryptocurrencies. But at the bottom of the document, there is a note saying something along the lines of, please, like, this is applicable to all open cases. So I think that mostly means, like, if there's anyone currently being prosecuted in Germany for, you know, the misreporting of taxes or something, if they've used it to buy stuff, I guess this would be their new stance on that. But I don't know when exactly it's going to be active under German law. I don't know if it's already been made active, but the fact that they published it shows that they're probably going in this direction.
Yeah, the thing that I was thinking about with all this stuff is that it just highlights how stupid the laws are, right? Because if you went down to the grocery store and you wanted to get 2 coconuts and you give them $1, that's fine. If you give them a Bitcoin, you have all this really complicated tax that you have to do. But technically, if you went down and you traded like a banana for 2 coconuts, you would still have all the same tax issues as trading a Bitcoin. That's why Bitcoin is taxed in goofy ways. It's not because they're trying to go after it. It's just because they go after everything, and then they create like this special exception for government money where you don't have to, and then they do selective enforcement, right? So if you trade your neighbor for something, they're not going to come after you because it's not worth the trouble, but they can, and that is technically a violation of the law. And if you piss off the right people, you'll be surprised what they'll actually enforce. So, but I'm glad to see that there's a little bit of freedom being given here.
Yeah, and it was interesting how they came to the conclusion that they didn't think mining should have a value-added tax. They said that the reason is because there was no identifiable beneficiary in terms of like, there's no receipt to a person because it's all happening kind of pseudonymously in the system. Like, you don't know which miner specifically is going to be mining your transaction. It's all mixed together and pseudo-anonymous. And also, I think Antti is saying in the troll box that something similar to this happened in Croatia, and they retracted it because the EU told them it doesn't align with EU-wide laws. Well, that's entirely possible. That would really suck. Although I would like to point out that the Germany has, let's say, a very strong position within the EU system. So if they go in this direction, maybe they'll pull the rest of the EU system in this direction. No idea.
Or the EU will collapse on itself because it's a flaming pile of dog shit.
Definitely moving somewhere direction, but like you're saying, Germany's got a lot more pull with the EU than Croatia, and you know, maybe they're going to set the standard here. So, or like Shinobi's saying, maybe it'll all fall to dust and everybody will just do their own thing.
And the JW, in case you were trying to say shit in German, the German word for shit is Scheiße.
No, it's not. It's Scheiße.
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 There is no T and no Z. It's just Scheiße.
Yeah, but there's got to be a way to violence that up. I don't know what it is, but give it a try. Try to say that as if you're stabbing somebody. Just
unfortunately, I've seen German movies where you don't have a short mustached crazy man, is the only one speaking German. Unfortunately, most Americans have only been exposed to German through World War II movies. So most Germans do not sound like that.
All I'm saying is give it a shot, and we'll let the audience decide whether you're saying it right or not. Just try to say it like you're stabbing somebody.
Spreche die Scheiße der Undenwagen!
What?
I don't know. I just made a bunch of sounds up. It sounded German, though, didn't it?
For the record, I love Germany and German economics, or Austrian economics is all that I really believe is legitimate economics. But I have to, of course, read all the translated versions. But Mises and Rothbard are my heroes. So if you're German, I'm just joking.
Wait, what? Austrians, I think Germans would note that there is a distinction between Germany and Austria, and I think Austrians would do that too.
Same
yes,
language,
they
though.
do, but they're yes.
I was making fun of the
But
language.
Mostly.
All right. Well, I was making fun of the language and just wanted to clarify that just making fun.
Yeah, I think it's like the enunciation thing. It's like it's kind of difficult to say, but it's like I went to Germany and spent a little bit of time in Frankfurt, and it was all on a base, so I didn't get to move around that much. But I think it'd be interesting just to hear, like, you know, the different parts of the countryside. Is like the enunciation different, kind of like accents in the United States, and you know, I'm sure we're pretty limited in our sources on this.
Mm-hmm. But jarring segue, trademark Shinobi Monkey. Interesting developments in Russia. So, a court case with Rikas Finance LLC and Alexei Leonov, and this man Ilya Sarkov. Pretty much, Ilya declared bankruptcy. Alexei and this company found out he had Bitcoin and tried to go after the Bitcoin in court, but hey, because you can't contradict the tyrants in charge, they ruled and set the precedent that when you declare bankruptcy or you have outstanding debts, they can't go after your cryptocurrency because it's not officially recognized as legal tender or an asset or anything.
What happens?
Oh my god! So, but I mean, just like think about, like, my brain is going crazy. Like, I want to move to Russia, like open up a huge line of credit, just spend it all on Bitcoin, and then just default on the loan.
Yeah, this is super
Yeah.
weird. It reminds me of when the court case in Florida, the guy was in trouble for selling Bitcoin, and they declared it wasn't a problem. It couldn't be considered money laundering because you couldn't put it in a mattress. Like, I don't think that's going to hold up, that line of legal precedent, but we'll see.
I know, which is why everybody needs to crowdfund my trip to Russia right now so that I can pull this before the precedent changes in court. Come on, guys. I mean, just I'll split the Bitcoin with everybody. I'll go max out every line of credit I can get. I'll put it in Bitcoin and I'm okay. They can't take anything legally.
Do a GoFundMe on that one. Yeah, it definitely does sort of say, like, you know, if you're there and you got a line of credit, you know, I don't know. This is like that whole trading out the crap money for real money. So I'd be making that move if I was over there.
Yeah, the whole strategy of using credit cards to buy Bitcoin is increasingly making sense to me.
It really is tempting. I have to admit, I have not done it, but there's a part of me that is very, very tempted by it. Just for the, I mean, not just the financial gain, but just I would love to be able to tell that story in 30 years. Like, I was one of the first people that was just like, bring it all down.
Yeah, I started filling out some credit card applications on our last price drop, but I don't know if I'm gonna actually go through with any of that.
Don't do it, dude. Don't do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, somebody, probably a lot of somebodies are sitting in Russia right now thinking those thoughts. And I can't wait to hear the news say something about it. All right, and I guess this puts us down to our last two stories. This next one is kind of sparse in the details, but apparently, I hope this is not an accurate prediction of the future. Maybe Quebec is not going to be the mining paradise that it's been made out to be lately. Pretty much the Hydro-Quebec, which is a state-owned company, is starting to rethink the giant influx of miners into the area. And yeah, that whole dynamic. Like Premier Philip Colliard recently said there needs to be added value for our society. Just having servers to do transactions, mining and acquiring new Bitcoins, I don't see the added value in reference to interest in new businesses coming to the area. So,
yeah, I think what's going on here, I mean, just to sort of summarize the story, one politician said that there's not going to be as much cheap power as miners are expecting that are coming to Quebec. So, I mean, the positive part of that story is there's so many miners coming to Quebec that it's worth making this statement, right? And trying to say, maybe it's not going to be as good as you guys think it is. So to me, it's confirmation that there is a whole lot of interest in mining in Quebec, and it's really heating up. And then the flip side of that is, I think this guy's just looking for a handout. I mean, this is how politicians beg for a few bucks in their next campaign. They say something that's negative, they scare an industry that's worth fleecing, and then they get a few bucks, and then they stop saying stuff like that. So that would be my guess, is he's just making a play for some campaign contributions or whatever.
yeah,
but yeah, overall, there's obviously a lot going on in Quebec with mining. So I know that is it, I won't pronounce his name right. Francis Poulot has been talking a lot about this, and very excited about it. And yeah, this obviously looks like it's just another angle that's confirming there's a lot happening there.
Mm-hmm. And Cyber in the chat is saying that Philippe is up for re-election soon. So I guess if you're in Quebec and Canada, get this guy the fuck out of there.
just it's like a homeless guy that smells like feces that comes up to you by the car. Throw him a few bucks and just move on with your life.
Okay. That's really harsh.
That's how you got to deal with politicians. I mean, you get rid of them. There's just another one back. Just leave the same guy in the street corner, throw him some bucks, and just, get back to work.
Homeless people are not politicians.
Well, I mean, I would rather hang out with a homeless person, and I think that they're far more respectable. They're not necessarily stealing from you on a regular basis or threatening you with acts of violence if you want to set up a mine, or saying that they're going to use the power that they have over a monopoly that provides electricity to screw you if you don't become their friend. So I'd take a homeless guy over a politician any day.
Hey, if Donald Trump can be president, so can a bum.
They probably have too much integrity for it.
Well, so can you go back to the article for a second? Because it didn't, because as JW is kind of saying, it doesn't seem that negative to me. Because like the first paragraph, like he pointed out, it sounds like they don't have enough supply for demand. They're not saying you can't come here. They're saying there won't be cheap power for every company that wants to come, which that doesn't, I mean, that's like, there's not the alternative energy is still not very large. So the fact that, they don't have enough supply for everyone who wants it is not surprising to me. And then the part where he talks about the value to society, like all you have to do to shut him up about that is to like hire a bunch of people. That's really all you have to do. Like, because a lot of the mining rigs, they don't have a lot of employees. Like all you really need is, someone to handle the security of the physical building. You need someone who knows how to maintain the miners. Like that's not really a ton of people. Like most of the pictures we've seen of miners in China and in Tibet, most of them don't have a ton of employees, as you can see from the pictures. It's mostly a giant warehouse and like several guys. So basically, probably what he's saying is like, if you want to set up shop here, you have to like hire local people and stuff. Like you can't just come in and start running it. That's what he's implying. But yeah, if you don't want to do that, I guess don't vote him back into office.
Well, it's just such an absurd complaint, though, right? Because every data center works like that. I'm willing to bet there's probably a higher percentage of employees per machines in a Bitcoin mining than under, like a Google data center. They're going to be way more efficient. They're going to have all kinds of remote management stuff, and there's going to be like a guy on a scooter for every acre, just running around pulling out hardware and slapping on a new one. So, I mean, it's a room full of computers that do calculations, right? Like I don't see politicians saying, yeah, we're not interested in the new Amazon data center because it's just calculating numbers, right? It's just running code. How could that provide value to our society? It's the stupidest thing you could possibly say.
Yeah, I think you are right on the money about it. It's just sort of showing like there's a lot of demand for getting over there and to start this. So like maybe just put out a release sort of saying like it's not, there's so many people coming over here. Maybe not everybody's going to get access. And yeah, it's definitely something where, I don't know, I think it is, you got to kind of read between the lines. I guess it's a good thing that there's that much demand. But, like they're saying, this guy's up for election and everything. Like, he might be looking for some sort of handout before everything gets going. But I don't think you're really going to put too much cold water on all that, because it seems like the demand's there. And if they're hiring people, it really does just sort of educate the general population about this stuff moving forward, because they're going to need to know this stuff. So it'll be helpful.
Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, if Canada doesn't want the business, well, hey, somebody else will. That's for damn sure.
Iceland.
Might even see like some competition between the Canadian provinces. I think that was already kind of going on whenever the Quebec was making this deal.
Mm-hmm. So I think Janine has a little story for us.
Yeah, so when we were talking about the difference between Germany and Austria, someone in the show box said that Americans don't understand geography, and I want to tell a little story. Actually, two stories. So I once had a babysitter who was in her early to mid 20s. I was young. I was very young, and she was under the, I don't know how it came up in the conversation, but she was under the impression that Alaska was connected to California, not Canada. And I had to correct her as a 5-year-old child that no, Alaska is connected to Canada. I'm sorry. Another point is that when someone I know went to Austria once, then they came back and they told their friend that they had been to Austria, and their friend asked them, oh, did you see any kangaroos? And they're like, what are you talking about? There's no kangaroos in Austria. and they're like, what? It's like, not Australia, Austria. It's like, oh, that's a different country. But yes, Austria does not have kangaroos.
One of my favorite, since we're on the Arrested Development theme today, one of my favorite Arrested Development jokes is talking about going to Portugal, spend some time down in South America.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't do this. I'm going to get distracted for the next 20 minutes.
Well, just there is a kangaroo on the artwork, but that had to do with this next news story. It wasn't about Austria.
All right,
that's as good of a segue as we're going to get there.
Yeah, all right.
Good job, man.
Done. This is actually pretty fucking cool. So bitcoin.com.au, not Roger Ver's bitcoin.com.
There's a .au TLD at the end. Okay, don't go kill them on Twitter because of Roger. It's a different .com. Is integrating with around 1,200 newsstands all across Australia to allow people to purchase $50 or more of right now Bitcoin and Ethereum at newsstands all across the country. So like, boom. Like, no need to go ship ATMs anywhere. No need for stupid KYC crap with an exchange. You walk up, you have your wallet, you scan a thing, give them cash, and you get your crypto. I mean, like these kinds of on-ramps are the ones that we need more of on the like official or regulated side of things. Just walk up, drop money on the counter, and you get your crypto. Like this is how we onboard people. This is how we actually start getting Bitcoin in everybody's hands and get everybody wanting to accept and hold more Bitcoin. Like just cut off as much of the friction as you can. And I mean, like, decentralized exchanges are going to do amazing things, but ma and pa probably aren't going to be ready for that stuff off the bat. So we still need things like this on the other side of the fence that they can actually comprehend and trust and use. But like, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah, completely. Like all these newsstands, just like anybody going to pick up their daily paper, maybe they start having some daily routine of transferring a small amount of, crap money for real money. So it's like you're saying, it's a great way to onboard people that, without all the headaches of, KYC and registering with an exchange and getting an account and sign up for all that stuff, where a lot of people in the older generations just have issues with those sort of problems, just getting around all that technical aspects of signing up.
Totally. If you're in Australia, try this out and let us know how it is. It looks pretty amazing with 0 fees. Even 5% fees is a real bargain. I mean, I don't know exactly how the exchange rate's going to work and all of that, but if it's 5% over Coinbase to be able to buy coins that are 100% private, that is a real good deal for anybody that's going to buy and hold for a long time. Like, don't sell out your privacy for freaking 5%, right? And it looks awesome. I mean, if it works the way that they say it does, I really wish we had it in the United States, because it would be my go-to thing, right? Like I'm telling people, put cash in an envelope and buy it on local Bitcoins. You don't need to sell out your privacy, but it feels goofy. It feels kind of illegal. It's not illegal, but it feels really weird to put $100 bills in an envelope, right? And then mail them to somebody you don't know. But it would be awesome if every time somebody asked me, hey, what's the best way to buy Bitcoin? I could just say, well, just go down to the 7-Eleven or, the corner store or whatever, grab a candy bar, throw them $100 and scan your phone and you're good to go. That's the kind of user experience that would just be incredible.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just about making it easy and comfortable for people. And I mean, these kinds of things are like, this is how you do it. Like, most people don't have an experience with like Ameritrade or Robinhood. They don't know how to deal with exchanges and like that user interface and experience. It's like, what the hell is this thing? But everybody knows how to deal with a guy at a cash register. You hand him the money and you do whatever thing he asks you to do, which boils down to pressing a button or two. And I mean, that's like, it's a lot of people, concentrate on the actual like technicals and the back end of things and leave the user experience and interface like out of mind a lot, but it really is an important part. And I mean, that's like it is critically important to get the back end and the actual technology right, but like that user experience needs to meet in the middle somewhere. And I mean, it's fucking awesome to see shit like this constantly taking stabs at that and not it just being left like completely uninteracted with.
Yeah, it's gonna be good to see more and more of this stuff come online.
All right. I guess that was the last show of the season finale. So who's got some thoughts? Because the digest proper at least is going to be taking a week or two break. I mean, we'll be doing stuff in the interim, but spill your minds, guys.
I have thoughts. I will get them.
While you're gathering.
Most of my thoughts are stored on Twitter.
Nice. Let's see. One thing I was going to say, just because I just saw some responses from some guys on Twitter. It looks like that Bitcoin.com vulnerability in the wallet, the Android wallet or whatever, where the file isn't encrypted. It looks like that's not that big of a deal, because even if it was encrypted, obviously if I have root access, you can get to files, but apparently like there's no more challenge in getting to the key that's stored right next to the file and decrypting that. I'm kind of surprised that there's no advantage, because why does the feature exist at all? But it wouldn't be the first time. It was just a little bit of security theater, but I have it on good authority that that's the case, that there's absolutely no value in encrypting the files using that key. So there you go. A little bit of a retraction. Maybe it's not so bad.
Well, I mean, personally,
I hate the user experience and still think it's really, really shady to force people to buy Bitcoin, or to push people through a user experience where they buy Bitcoin and then naturally send that to a Bitcoin Cash address. I think that in their Bitcoin Cash wallet, I think that's terrible. But just wanted to clarify that it looks like that other issue isn't really much of an issue.
I mean, JW, like personally, that word seed should not be saved, period. Like, it should be generated. You should back it up, and it should no longer exist on that device, because that's not just the keys in the wallet. That's all of the keys that will ever be generated, like, from that seed. Like,
don't they have to, is it the seed or is it just all your private keys? Because obviously they have to have all your private keys so that you can send.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, yeah, like, a little bit of a clarification.
I'm just getting into semantic, but all right, I got everything set up. Janine, go.
Yeah, so I just want to give a shout out to Elizabeth Stark, because she helped me get to that conference with Nick Szabo and Snowden and herself, and so thank you to her for that. That was fun to hear them speak. The second one is just kind of funny. If you can spot, there's two real dogs in that chain.
There's two?
Yeah, there's two.
Okay, yeah, I see them.
A chain of two Shiba dogs and stuffed animals, the Dogecoin blockchain, everybody.
What kind of drugs did they have to give those dogs to make them lay like
that? Yeah, because they're not only laying down, it's like laying with its legs like splayed out and everything.
Yeah, that's not natural.
Those are really cute stuffed animals, though. I wonder where they got them. And then the third one is that.
Peter Todd trying to jam a physical Bitcoin in your coffee machine.
Is he acting as Peter Todd right now, or is this fake Satoshi? I don't know what's happening.
It might be. I don't know. He did. I think it was kind of like a Roger Ver jab, but who knows?
When just to signal to us, Peter, so we know when you're pretending to be fake Satoshi and not. If you could just really cinch up your belt so that you have a little bit of a Dunlap, that'd be a good visual signal, so we know how you're making fun of who when.
Acnix, Rick, any last thoughts, guys?
I just like that he got 1,000 likes on that tweet.
You should have 10 times.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some Bcashers in there liking that too. But
I've been brain dumping on Twitter, so that's where my stuff's at. You're gonna have to check that for my summaries and recaps.
all right. Final thought on my end is just yeah, I'm gonna take a couple week break here, I guess, and gonna be trying to do some new content thing similar to the way JW and Janine and Shinobi got their own individual contents coming out. I'm gonna try and put something together on this little hiatus and be doing the meetup stuff and some local politicking game that I'm sure not everybody agrees with, but I think it'll be helpful.
Mm-hmm. You gotta fucking make the change where you can make the change, Rick. Just keep at it.
That's right.
I almost forgot. My final thought is tomorrow I'm going to be able to do, Rick reminded me of this, speaking of other content, I'm going to do an interview with Jim Bell on assassination politics that should be really interesting. So under the microscope on assassination politics, super psyched. So watch out for that.
And there'll probably be another one that I passed out while I was uploading, so that'll be going out in probably a little bit after we get off the air. But Janine, Rick, Scam, any last thoughts? Because I'm still in the limelight at the end here.
This has been a really great season. I added up our hours. We're doing about between 53 and 55 hours of content, where last season we did like around 30 hours, between 28 and 30. So I think I don't know. I think we pretty much solidified the format here. I think it's going well. So maybe when we boot back up in the season 4, it's not going to be much difference from this season and that season as compared to the previous hiatus breaks.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I guess it has been a fun season, everybody. Thanks to everybody who's watching. We'll be trying to put out the other content formats we've been trying while Digest is on hiatus for a week or two. But remember, everybody, if Bitcoin doesn't work out, there's always money in the banana stand. See you guys next season.
Later, everyone.
See you guys.